Good morning, everyone.
What is your name?
Camilla.
How old are you?
2.
Can you say liver?
Liver.
Who gave you a piece of their liver?
Daddy.
What makes you happy?
Turtle.
Toto is
Minnie.
Toto is Mickey Mouse.
Turtle is Mickey Mouse.
Okay. What is your favorite thing to do with mommy, daddy, and your sister?
Juliet.
Yeah. What is your favorite thing to do?
Play.
Play. Okay. Can you
Next-
say hello to all of our listeners?
Hello.
Thank you, Camilla.
Welcome to the Living Transplant podcast, where we take you behind the scenes of the transplant program at Toronto General Hospital. I'm your host, Candice. Each episode, we share the powerful stories from transplant recipients and living donors, along with insights and education from leading medical professionals. Today, we're joined by Bianca and Joseph, parents who share the deeply personal journey of their daughter Camilla's liver transplant, from fear and uncertainty of diagnosis to the long road toward healing and hope. In this episode, Bianca and Joseph open up about navigating life as parents of a transplant recipient, the emotional weight of advocacy and decision-making, and the realities of living donation when the donor is also a parent. They speak honestly about grief, guilt, resilience, and what it means to stay strong for your child when everything feels uncertain. This conversation is also about hope, about finding light in the hardest moments, trusting the transplant team, leaning on support, and imagining a future where Camilla gets to grow, dream, and simply be a kid. Please enjoy this powerful and heartfelt conversation with Bianca and Joseph. Welcome back to the Living Transplant podcast. I am so excited to have Bianca and Joseph with me here today. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us. It's an absolute honor to be here with you.
Yeah, honestly, very excited to get this going. So thank you.
Awesome. So I'm going to jump right in and we're going to chat a little bit about your journeys as well as your daughter Camilla's. And I'm wondering if you can start with her journey a little bit and tell me a little bit about, how she was doing, how her health was when she was first born, and, when you first learned about her health conditions and, that journey to transplant.
Yeah. So at first, Camilla was born regular. She had neonatal jaundice, I believe. However, at her 1 month appointment, her jaundice was still there, still present, and our family doctor had noticed some red flags because she was intaking about 3 ounces of formula from what I remember at that time, and she was only gaining weight in her stomach area. And he told us initially, he said, don't be alarmed, but I do have to send you guys for further testing. Fast forwarding, we ended up going into the hospital where they did an ultrasound. That night, there was actually a liver doctor on call, pediatric doctor, and he came to us and said her liver enzymes are highly elevated. Her stool color was pale. And he said it can be one of 3 things. First one, he said it can be an infection. However, nothing in her blood work showed that there was an infection. Second one, it could be biliary atresia. Third one could be a genetic disorder. It was biliary atresia. He said there is a Kasai procedure. So because she was only 4 weeks old, she did qualify for that. So with that, he said there's chances of this taking the Kasai procedure can work, but if it doesn't, he told us straight up, it can be a liver transplant. Like, I froze. I just kind of choked up there because as a new mom, you're worried, you're scared initially already. And she ended up having the Kasai procedure at 5 weeks old. However, the Kasai procedure ended up failing at 4 months old.
It would have been 2.5 to 3 months after the Kasai procedure. So it did start to look better. But then it took that long before you ended up noticing that.
Yeah.
her jaundice started coming back, and that her weight gain she started getting swollen in her stomach area again. She noticed that being home, and we said, let's just go check it out. What do we got to lose? When they did the testing, they ended up saying that, yeah, her enzymes are like skyrocketed at this point. I think they were like in the thousands.
Yeah, they were thousands, and they said, you guys have to go to Toronto SickKids. That is when I know Joseph started to kind of ask questions, and right away he was ready to line up as a liver donor. So fast forward to her being 4 months old, we ended up at her her being transferred over to Toronto SickKids, and they did all the testing all over again. We were admitted there for about 4 months, three and a half months. That essentially is what led us to her needing a liver transplant, because her liver started to fail and she was developing cirrhosis.
And during this time, I mean, like you said, it's scary to just have a baby in general, right? As a first-time parent. But then you add on this extra layer of being worried for your daughter. And how did you guys deal with that emotional piece of it? Were you just kind of in survival mode? How did you get through that part until you finally got the go ahead that, okay, we're not going to do any more of these tests. We're going to look at liver transplant as the next step. How did you guys deal with all of that?
Yeah, I think at that point, like you said, it was kind of like an instinct to be in survival mode. We had kind of no other option but to be crazy strong for Camilla, for ourselves, for each other. And like, obviously we had many breakdowns because, yeah, when you first have, your first kid, that's scary in itself. And, just getting thrown a curveball to be in the hospital, to have to go through a surgery, then to have to go through a really big surgery to follow up on that, definitely scared us. We had no other option but to kind of keep going with it, because at the end of the day, we're Camilla's voice. As tough as it is, we had no option but to really put our heads down and make sure that we get this done.
Wow. And then you were referred to SickKids and finally had that discussion that, okay, we're at the point now where she's going to need a liver transplant. I know you laughed and, you said he was ready to go before it was even an option. And, my mom was the same way when I was diagnosed with my kidney disease. Her first question was, okay, when can I donate the kidney then? Instead of, what the procedure is, it was like, get me in immediately, right? The parents' instinct to support their babies, right? Whether they're 4 months old or 40 years old, I guess. So once you got to that transplant place, how did you find out that you could potentially be that donor? And what was that procedure like, or, walking through those steps to get all of that done?
Yeah. So at that point, I want to say that they did tell us we would have to wait, because even once we got transferred to Toronto SickKids, I said, okay, let's start the process. Let's do it. I was very antsy still at that point. But obviously they had to get Camilla onto a list before anything. And they said at that point, we'll get you to undergo all the testing that is needed. But also keep in mind that if we don't have to put you, speaking to me, in harm's way, then we also won't. But in the meantime, we'll make sure that your testing is done. So they made sure I did blood work. They made sure I had to do an ECG. I had to go in for an MRI. I had to go in for a CAT scan, X-rays, and just do the whole 9 yards. They also put me on a list. I guess this was following the actual call for a prehabilitation.
Oh, interesting.
Like a new program that they were running. but that was following when they had said that I'd be able to be a donor. But otherwise, it was all this, I guess, extensive testing, which realistically didn't seem as extensive when, we had to consider what Camilla was going through. I just felt like the testing that I had to do was nothing at all, really.
And once you finished all that testing, what was it like when they told you, yes, you are compatible with Camilla, you are going to be the donor, this is actually happening?
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the best days of my life.
Oh.
Obviously, it's like she was born and then she was born again at that point, except obviously we didn't go through the surgery yet. So when I did my last bit of testing, which was the MRI, and they said it would actually take close to a week to get any results. They called me the same day. And that's when I found out. They said, you're a match. And like, there were shooting stars all over my head, like everything, my world just changed. Because that was the greatest gift that I could have ever gotten. I think we could have ever gotten.
Yeah.
Especially getting that the day after Father's Day. I was like, all right, this is what I'm meant to do. Right. This is why one of the biggest reasons why I'm here on this earth is to try to save our baby girl. So it was the happiest moment of my life.
Wow. And what was that like for you, Bianca?
I think it's weird, but it felt, I've never won the lottery, but to me, that was winning the lottery because I always find health is so much more important than wealth. And I think I was bittersweet because I had you. My husband was going under the knife.
Yes.
And then I also have my daughter going under the knife at the same time. So I felt extremely happy, and I remember breaking down into tears, excitement tears, because I knew Camilla was going to get her second chance to life. And I was also worried in a sense where, oh my goodness, how am I going to do it with both of them under the knife?
Right.
Yeah. But I think, again, you go into a survival mode. And I just kind of put the positive aspect into both of them. And that the fact that her father is able to donate to her. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts that God or life could have given us.
And you mentioned, I mean, my family went through the same thing. My mom was my donor. And, with you guys, when we go through these transplant processes, often we talk about the recipient and the donor. And in my opinion, the transplant is a whole family journey, and, everybody is part of it. And, we were at the Yorkville run all together and seeing, the big team, the big family that you guys brought with you, similar to, I really connected with that because it was similar to my family as well. With our first kidney walk, there was probably 25 people that came with us, and, having that community support, right? Like you've got your family there, you've got uncles and aunts and grandmas and cousins and siblings, and knowing that makes the journey a lot easier because you have that support network. But I asked my dad one time, what was it like having your wife and your daughter under at the same time, and asking you the same thing. What was it like first, having your husband undergo this liver process and removing that lobe, and then waiting to hear, how he was doing, and then next, in goes Camilla to receive the liver. How did you get through that day?
I was very fortunate to have my parents and my in-laws by my side through that day. And I think for me, how I got through that day it wasn't easy. I couldn't sit around at the hospitals, either or, because if I did sit in the hospital rooms, I feel like I would have gone crazy. I remember both teens telling me, we are only going to tell you once the liver has been transferred over to SickKids. We're not going to update you unless there is something. So having no communication, I felt like confused and lost. What's going on? And is there an update? And I remember them telling me a time window as well when they were cutting into Joseph. And they said, Camilla should have her liver within X amount of hours. And she did not receive his liver in that time frame that they had told me. So my head started to spiral as well. And when the surgeon did come up to tell me, he said everything went well, but he said there was just a little bit of complication with Joseph's insides and a matter of getting to the liver. And that's what took the lengthy time for her to receive his liver.
Oh boy.
So that I felt, to me, I was very worried, but what ended up doing was we actually took a walk to Nathan Phillips Square, and I'm with my parents and my in-laws. So just keeping yourself distracted as best you can and being surrounded with other loved ones. That's what helped me get through the day. But there were times where I did want to be on my own and I wanted to just really process what was happening. And I felt like I couldn't. But I think as you're in the motion of everything, again, the survival mode comes into play, and I knew I had to be the strong one for my family at that time.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot to take, being in the waiting game. I always tell people that's the hardest part, is waiting. Right. And, my dad, I remember when he said, when they came out to say, your daughter's in recovery, we got the kidney out, we've transplanted it, and everything is great. Your wife is okay, and your daughter's okay. And he said the entire waiting room, there was like 10 people in there, just cheered like it was, a football stadium, because it was over for them, right? That wait part was over. And so how did you feel when you finally heard that, the surgery is over, both of them are in recovery, it worked?
Yeah. I think, so I'll never, it's so funny because we actually spoke about this last night, and I'll never forget. So first off, Joseph was the first one to come out of surgery, because Camilla's surgery was 12 hours in length.
Wow.
And Joseph's was 8.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it was pretty lengthy.
Mm-hmm.
And when they told me Joseph was out, I was very excited, and they said everything went well. I kind of just had like little party hats go off in my head.
Yeah.
Because I knew that we were one step closer to Camilla getting that chance to live. And I knew that, and actually Dr. Cottrell was the surgeon on Joseph, and he had mentioned that his liver was beautiful. So that made me feel like $1 million, because Camilla was getting handed beautiful liver, I guess, to say the least. But when Camilla had come out, I felt almost, I was nervous. I think I was more nervous because I knew she was going in to pick you. And I think that was very traumatizing to go in to see her by myself. But I was very relieved that she was out and everything went well. And I'll never forget Dr. Saeed coming out very nonchalant with a carton of milk, because he loves his milk, supposedly.
Yes.
And he said, the surgery went well. Everything's great.
Wow.
But he actually described Camilla's liver to be a rock.
Oh my goodness.
it's just crazy because she was only 4 months old. So the fact that she was able to get Joseph's liver and everything was, I know she was on a bunch of medications prior to where she is today. And there was a lot of hiccups, and there still will be hiccups. But I think the fact that she was able to receive a working liver was $1,000,000. That's what felt like, that's what I felt. I just felt really grateful to be in that position for her.
Mm-hmm. And, we talk a lot about what it feels like, to hold your baby as a mom. And that first time that you could hold Camilla after the transplant, what did that feel like?
That was, that was some time. And Candace, I'm really glad that you actually asked that, because even when she went for her first procedure, she was just bedridden and she was hooked up to all these wires. So I know as mom and dad, we felt very ripped away from it because we felt uncomfortable to hold her, and we would have to get the nurses to help us with her. And post-transplant, it was the same ball game. I wasn't able to hold her right away because of everything she was hooked up to. But once I did get that feeling of holding her again, I felt renewed, and I felt like I was able to be that comfort for her that I could be, because prior to that, I couldn't take away her pain, and I felt very helpless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And I mean, Joseph, you're 8-hour surgery, going through all of this, you're on the other side of it. I know that when we first wake up from a transplant, we don't remember a lot. So, whether it's the day of or the next day or 2 days later, whenever that time was, when do you remember first, hearing that your daughter had received your liver and that, the recovery was going the way that they wanted it to?
I actually remember quite a bit, oddly. I actually woke up as they were moving me to, I guess, from the surgery room to where I would be stationed for, I think it was just one night, the recovery room there. But I do remember on the way to that room, I did wake up and they bumped me into a couple walls.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just making sure you're still with us, buddy. Bonk, bonk.
So I do remember that, and they just looked at me and kind of laughed, like, "Oh, sorry." I was like, "You're lucky I'm kind of under so many medications right now because I don't feel a thing."
That's funny.
And then it wasn't until I got to the room that I want to say it was Dr. Cottrell that came in and told me that, he ended up going into the surgery room to assist Dr. Saeed with Camilla, and he said how great it went.
Mm-hmm.
He said he cut through a lot of muscle tissue, and I guess that's probably where the complication went, because he said it's very difficult to cut through muscle, which he said the recovery is going to be brutal for that, but he's like, rebuild it, you'll be all right. But it was just a whole sign of relief. Once he told me that Camilla was good, I was like, okay, thank you. First off, I'm beyond grateful. And when can I go?
Mm-hmm.
It was probably not an easy recovery, a very painful one, but a very motivating one to get my butt over there to the other side.
Mm-hmm. And what was that like for you, finally being told, okay, we're going to either get you in a wheelchair or, get you over through that tunnel. Let's go to SickKids. Let's see Camilla.
Yeah. But the first instance that I actually got to see Camilla was over FaceTime, actually, when Bianca was in PICU visiting her. It was, again, another happy moment, a very emotional state at that point. I almost had no words when we were in that time. And I said, don't worry, baby, daddy will be there soon. And I think it was just the next day that they actually allowed me to to get wheeled over. It was scary seeing all the wires at that point, because it wasn't. It's not something any parent, let alone anybody, should have to witness. But I was very happy to be able to get in there into that room and just stand once again and reach over and give her a kiss and see her little side smirk just coming out, and just know that she was doing better.
It's almost, I think it's like a heartwarming feeling,
Yeah.
as difficult as it can be to see them both wired up. I feel it's very heartwarming to know that they are now on the better side because of a transplant.
It's like finding a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. It's like a sunshine after a rainy day. It's like, all the good metaphors that you can throw into this. It was the best feeling in the world to be able to get to see her again and being in a much better state, because we knew that she was in a point where she was essentially end of life. So to know that she was essentially beyond that was a good feeling. It was a really good feeling.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. What a journey you guys had to go through in such a short amount of time, and being thrown into all of these emotions at the same time, right? Like the fear and the sadness and the hope and the joy and the pain, and all up and down, and finally to see that this transplant happened, both of us are okay. And this has now been a little while since that happened. How has life been for all of you since the transplant?
One thing that I'm beyond grateful for at this point in time right now was something that we laugh about all the time, because when we were in the hospital, all we kept saying was, we can't wait for her to be in a state where she's giving us attitude, and she's talking back and she's doing all the things that a kid should be doing. And now, being almost 3, she's doing exactly that. She is, a little rugrat who literally yells back at us, who will scream no and give us dirty looks when she's angry, and she's doing all the things that a kid should be doing. We were looking forward to this time, and now that we're in this time, obviously we're like, you little shit, like.
yes
But I'm happy. I am very happy that she's giving us attitude, because we prayed for this moment. We prayed for these little bits of attitude. Yeah. That's my thing. Anyway.
That's so funny.
No, I think I agree, because I feel I feel like we were almost robbed of her newborn years, and a lot of her development stages came after transplant, because what we thought was normal, she wasn't doing normal developmental things. Her tummy time, she couldn't do tummy time for the longest time. So it's like, I know she's a toddler now giving us attitude, but I think back to like her early developmental stages, and to see her start doing physio again, slowly progressing and having that tummy time, and like having her walking and running and wanting to work out with both of us, but more Joseph, because we try our best to include her in our physical activity.
So sweet.
It's really good. And like having her say, I want to do gymnastics, or I want to go to La Piscina, which is the pool in Italian. And you wouldn't know she had a transplant had we told her story or tell you her story. We've expanded our family as well after her. So we had our little one, Juliana. So yeah, there's a few milestones within this 2.5 years.
That's incredible. And, thinking about that piece that you mentioned, like you would never know she had a transplant. What do you hope that she understands about her transplant process, and that she is a child who had this this procedure, and it was dad who donated the liver? What is it that you hope she understands about that?
I think even now we are starting to throw little tidbits to her. One, every time now she sees her scar, I'll show her my scar. And so I'll run her finger on hers. I'll run her fingers on my scar, and I'll say, like, this is your beautiful scar. This is daddy's. And then I also wear on my neck a liver on my chain that I say this is daddy's liver, but it's also Camilla's liver. So we're constantly instilling in her that she has daddy's liver, and we actually went and got her a little liver pendant as well. And so she is pretty aware now that daddy's liver is Camilla's liver. Because at the end of the day, it's something that not just us, but mainly she has to live with the rest of her life with her medication that she's on for life. So it's all these things that we kind of have to we're just constantly instilling in her, and she's already kind of been primed to know that something happened.
And just to touch on that, we also bought her a book on that condition, or the rare disease biliary atresia. And it was written by a doctor, but in the States, and explains her condition in a kid-friendly form. Mm-hmm. I have mom guilt sometimes, although it's not my fault for what happened to her. But I think as she gets older, I hope she doesn't, I hope the blame doesn't come on to me. So it's just a matter of teaching her that this was a rare condition, and we don't know what stems from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I don't know a mom on the planet who doesn't live with some level of mom guilt, right? It's such a terrible thing that we're given when we birth a child. It's interesting to think of. I mean, I was born with a missing gene, which caused my kidneys to fail. And my dad's side of the family, his mom, his uncle, they both had the same thing that I did. And so he has gone through a lot of that as well, and feeling, was this my fault? Did I do this? And, we found out that it was, both parents had to activate this to make this happen. And I'm 40, I have that understanding that this had nothing to do with my parents. This was just, I was the lucky sibling that, I always say, I took one for the team. You guys are okay. Your kidneys are fine. I'll be the one that has the transplant. I'll be the tough one with the cool scars. But yeah, I think, especially the way you're doing it now, growing up and teaching her about it. And she's going to grow up with that knowledge of what it is. And, I heard a podcast one time where this guy was dealing with psoriasis, and, he was so subconsciously, he felt like it was gross. And, he had all these feelings about his psoriasis, and his aunt said to him, oh, but that's your superpower. You're different than everyone else. And so this makes you unique. And this is your superpower, that you have that extra strength, that this is what you're going through. And I always thought that was so cool. I was 24, so I wasn't a super young kid, but, thinking, my superpower is I have 3 kidneys and this awesome scar. And, growing up thinking I'm a little bit different. People don't see my scars. So if I don't want them to know about it, they don't know about it. But if I do want them to know about it, then I can, brag about how tough I am because of all of the things I've been through, right? It adds an extra layer of armor to you that you're like, if I went through that, I can basically go through anything, right? And I think similar to parents, right? You guys have been through the hardest thing you could ever possibly go through as parents now. So yeah, the lip is not easy. The sass isn't easy. And I mean, I've got a girl too. So I'm thinking, oh boy, if I have this level of sass at 4, what's going to happen when she's 13 or 14, right? But we've been through some tough things. I think we can deal with the sass at the end of the day too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think, and that's the thing is, I think when you see how difficult and how hard of time that you went through in that stage, it's almost like anything after that, any challenge that'll bring, whether it be health, whether it be, financially, or whether it be, a business venture you want to take on, or whether it be anything physical activity, which, running the race that we did, the 5 kilometer run, and the Spartan race that we ended up doing, where we got to, we raised money for SickKids and stuff. And it was any challenge, anything difficult didn't seem as challenging anymore, because it's like we already went through probably the hardest thing that a parent or a person can go through. So it's like anything following that isn't that difficult. And it just gets you thinking back to that time, said, and thinking to ourselves, this is why we're doing it, right? Why are we even pursuing something so challenging? Well, it's because what we already went through, that was probably the toughest part of it all. So moving forward is, it's just another bump in the road.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, I know that you're a little bit out of it. So, I always say the wound has healed a little bit. But for those parents who are like right in the middle of it right now, who are facing these things that you guys have talked about today, do you have any advice for them about, going through these unimaginable things that parents who have children who need a transplant go through? What would you tell those people who are right in the thick of it?
I think we could probably look at it in two different ways. And I think from my perspective, as a parent who did get to donate to our baby girl, it was a sign of relief. I think any parent that can do it and is able to do it, do it. And I don't see why anyone wouldn't, if they are able at that point, for their own child. But just know that everything's going to be all right. Right? Like, it's as difficult, as challenging, as hard as it gets. The times where things get to the absolute lowest of the low, which we hit that point, it was a state of where, we seen Camilla basically just completely bedridden. It was,
she had no emotion.
She had nothing. Her smiles were gone. Every bit of happiness was taken away. But we did know that there was going to be light at the end of that tunnel. We did know that it would be a process. We were told that things will have to get much worse before they get better. As much as we kept asking them to, just get her in, just get her in, just get her in. And they said, she's not ready yet. We need to essentially fatten her up, because at that point she wasn't even getting any nutrition in when she was, just weeks out from transplant. They said we need to fatten her up. We need to bulk her up. We need her to be in the healthiest, strongest state before we get her in there, unless it's absolutely needed. So they needed her essentially to get better in that sense, but also worse before we can actually get in there. So for any parent listening, it's just know, as hard as it gets, there is light at that tunnel. You will be on the other side. And when you hit that point, you will have the biggest sigh of relief, because it's the most amazing feeling in the world. Just carry on with it. Be that strong voice for your child. Be that person who is there advocating for them, and just know that you are doing everything in your power to get your son or daughter onto the other side. Put a lot of trust and faith in the people, in the professionals doing what they are doing. You will have millions of questions throughout the process. Don't be afraid to ask them. There's no stupid questions. Ask everything. Write things down. You're not always going to want to speak to people.
I would say take the space that you need as well.
Yeah.
Really, for any parent going through it, or to all our listeners as well, I would say that's probably one of the biggest things is your kids will sense your emotion. So try your best to be as strong-witted as you can. And if you have to speak to someone, there's resources there for you. For my sake, the social worker was an excellent resource and an excellent outlet aside from family, because they are the professionals in what you do. And I think that's very important. So have faith, even though I know it can get lost. At one point we did lose it. But it was important to use the resources that are available to you during this time. And again, know that there will be light at the end of the tunnel.
Amazing. And lastly, for you guys, looking ahead to Camilla's future, what do you hope that will look like for her? What do you hope to see her accomplish in her long and healthy life?
Everything and anything she puts her mind to.
I think every year is an accomplishment. And I think Candace, we were talking about it at the race, and just being grateful that you hit an age, like, knowing, right? Like, being grateful that you are here every day, and whatever life throws at you, or whatever path you want to take, I think whatever makes her happy, that'll make us happy.
Yeah.
Having her accomplish something that she wants in life.
Yeah. Whether it be, something with, like, to be in school. She plays around all the time as a doctor. She plays all around as, I hear her little, like, she got a little lawyer book. Like, she messes around with everything. She gets into sports if she wants to be an athlete, if she wants to be whatever she wants to be, whatever she wants to do. We want to make sure that we constantly instill in her to go after it.
Yeah.
That she went through a lot. But everything moving forward for her, we just hope that she goes out there and really puts her heart into it to strive to be the best Camilla that she can be.
Yeah. We always tell her that. Be Camilla. Be who you are, right? She's young, but be Camilla.
That's amazing. Yeah, we talked about it at the run. You're right. Like, I celebrated my 40th birthday in July, and it was so overwhelming for me to think that I actually made it that far, right? I've had a transplant for 16 years. There were moments at the beginning where I didn't know if I would turn 25. And now I'm 40. And like you said, like, all of those steps along the way, there's all these tiny things that you get to celebrate. And, yeah, of course it's not perfect. Of course it's bumpy, because everybody's life is bumpy. But, I get to wake up in the morning listening to my little girl singing when she wakes up, right? Like, just recently, my dog went nuts, and, she came home from a hockey game, and there's all of these things that I get to celebrate. I get to talk to people like you, who have been through this experience. I get to do all of these things. And, Camilla's just at the beginning of her journey and of her life, and all of these beautiful things that you guys are going to be able to, watch her do and celebrate. And it's so amazing to hear you guys on this side of the transplant, and to see your faces smiling. And it is hard to think back about those moments of fear and uncertainties, and I know it's not easy to talk about things. So we are so grateful that you actually did this today, and that you were willing to share with other people who might be going through these similar things right now, is to see you guys as a piece of hope that these guys went through it too. We can do it just like they did. And it's wonderful to get to hear her tiny little voice, being healthy and happy, and to see you guys here after all of this that you've been through. We're so grateful that you're willing to share.
Yeah. I do want to add too, even for all listeners, for people going through the procedure itself and everything, is there's a lot of research still being done. Uh, like with biliary atresia, there's no known cause for that condition. But the professionals are out there trying everything in their power to figure little things like this out. So you you will get approached and asked about joining a specific research, uh, some that you may be comfortable with, some that you may not be comfortable with. And I know we said yes to so many. There was that we ended up saying no to, but I mean, for the most part, you got to just remember that these little bits of research are going to help the next family. They're going to help the next child or adult, or just the person who is going to be going through a transplant. And it will help that next generation, to possibly avoid you know a transplant. It could save someone's life, just being aware and knowing and getting a better understanding of what causes these things, so that you know maybe we don't do a certain thing, because although we may do everything in our power to avoid certain things, like I do consider Bianca and I to be very, very healthy. uh like we exercise, we eat fairly well, we do all the things that a person should be doing, but still you get hit with this curveball. But if we just knew, if we had the research already there, and we knew what could avoid something like this, if it was avoidable, because at the end of the day, we don't know if there's anything to even avoid this from happening. If there was, then at least we know that that research is being done to try to make that happen.
Sorry, just to touch on that, the poop chart that you do get sent home with.
Mhm.
Candace, I don't know if you received it, but I know when I had Camilla, they started, I believe it was something that the government had approved for, and reference the poop chart that they do send you home with for new moms, because I got it with both Camilla and our daughter Juliana, and I didn't follow it strictly with Camilla, and I did follow it strictly with Juliana. But with Camilla's aspect, I think that's something that I would say really reference, because that's a big indicator of the biliary atresia within the first month of life.
Mhm.
Wow. Relying on Punu, right? I mean, that is a big part of our lives as new parents, right?
It's really nasty when you have to think about it. Like, yeah, that was a key indicator.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
him and I literally took it and we're like, okay, yeah, whatever, they're fine. Like the first week, and we pushed it aside as new parents because young, naive, dumb, and we're just like, whatever. And sure enough, we got hit with that. So
Yeah.
really look at your child's poop.
Amazing. Is there anything that we didn't chat about today, other than poop, that you guys would like to add that maybe I didn't ask you about?
We did cover a lot. I'm sure we can probably go on for days, considering how long the process is and it being lifelong. But I think I would just add not to be afraid, even as a donor. I mean, again, it was for my daughter at the end of the day. I did also mention to Bianca that if by chance I was not a match for Camila and I was able to donate to another child, then, or person, anyone, like I would, just knowing that I would be able to save someone's life at that point, I think I owe it to the world to be able to do that. And I think you get a whole new perspective change when you're put in that position. Uh, just because I personally never would have thought or expected to be a donor. And to be honest, I was against it. When they ask you for your license, do you want to be a donor? I always said no. And now I'm on the complete opposite side, and it's absolutely yes, give everything away. If it can save someone's life, let's do it. And I remember being in that position to say, if I couldn't donate to Camilla, I will help someone else, as difficult as it is, because there's a parent out there who's looking at their child, not knowing when or if there's going to be a match any day soon. And I wanted to be able to do that for someone else. It is a painful experience, so I'm not knocking that by any means. You will go hell and back, but it is worth it to know that you're giving someone that second chance of life. I do honestly got to give a big thank you to people who do go in there anonymously, not really knowing what they're getting into, and not knowing the families who they are helping, and who are just doing it out of the kindness of their heart. You guys are superheroes, you're rock stars. I don't think anyone truly understands how much it means to the families being there, knowing that, for us, like, I'm going to keep using the analogy of our kids, of our daughter. It's like that big thank you. Like, you don't know the joy that you're bringing to us, to the families that get to say, all right, it's time. We're being called upon to really smile again, to really be happy again, and to put that smile on our kids' face.
Wow. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time with us today. Like you said, I could chat for days with you. There's so much always to unpack, but we really appreciate you sharing your story so openly, and it's so incredible to get to see all of you guys be so healthy and happy and growing your family. It's a beautiful thing to see. So thank you so much for sharing. And I'm sure these families who are out there going through what you went through are going to see this as, a beacon of hope. So again, thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having us. And thank you to all our listeners. It was an absolute honor to be on this podcast and share our story.
Thank you so much. I think this is a blessing. I hope it's a big eye opener. I hope people are inspired to learn more about, being a living donor. Just get out there, do a little bit of research, ask questions, and
ask family and friends if you are in the position where someone does need a transplant, because you might be surprised on how many people do step up to the plate to undergo testing. So it's an absolute, hopefully there is more awareness for organ donation, because a lot of people, like you said, just push it to the side. So thank you for allowing us to share this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you both. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Living Transplant podcast. If you did, please rate, leave us a review, and share with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to Living Transplant wherever you're listening today. If you have any ideas for podcast episodes, please reach out to us at livingorgandonation@uhn.ca. For information about living organ donation, you can visit us at www.livingorgandonation.ca. Special thanks to Bespoke Productions for editing this episode and for production support. I'm your host, Candice Coughlin. Thanks for spending your time with us.